Welcome to this deep dive all about sleep.
Well,
You've shared a ton of notes and highlighted passages from Matthew Walker's book, Why We Sleep.
yeah.
So it seems like you're really digging into
Hmm.
not just how we sleep, but
Right.
why.
Absolutely. And the book makes a compelling case that understanding the why is crucial.
Yeah.
There's so much more to sleep than simply feeling rested.
Okay, so you've flagged some pretty alarming sections about the dangers of sleep deprivation.
Right.
Drowsy driving, impacts on work performance,
Uh-huh.
even links to serious diseases.
Yeah,
Makes you wonder how we ever function without enough sleep.
right. It is a little frightening when you consider that,
Yeah.
according to Walker, drowsy driving accidents actually exceed those caused by alcohol and drugs combined. It's like we're walking around impaired without even realizing it.
That's a really sobering statistic. And you also highlighted those sections about sleep-deprived doctors making more medical errors. Suddenly, that late-night study session before a big exam doesn't seem so appealing anymore.
It really puts things into perspective. The book frames sleep deprivation as a significant public health concern, and when you delve into the research, it's hard to argue with that conclusion.
So let's talk about
Yeah.
what's actually happening in our brains and bodies when we sleep.
Yeah.
You mentioned that Walker spent 20 years researching sleep, initially thinking he could unravel its mysteries in a couple of years. What makes sleep such a complex puzzle for scientists?
Well, for a long time,
Yeah.
the true function of sleep remained a mystery. Unlike basic drives like eating or drinking,
Right.
where the purpose is pretty obvious, the core reason we sleep wasn't so clear. Walker calls sleep Mother Nature's best effort yet at contra death, which is a pretty powerful statement.
Contra death. That's definitely not mincing words, but what did he mean by that? What's so vital about sleep that it's essential for survival?
The book dives deep into the physiological processes that happen during sleep, explaining how it affects every single system in our bodies.
Mm-hmm.
For example, during sleep, our cells get busy repairing damage, our immune systems are strengthened,
Okay.
and our brains are hard at work consolidating memories and clearing out waste products. It's like a nightly tune-up for our entire system.
So it's not just our brains that need sleep, it's our entire bodies.
Exactly. And when we skimp on sleep, we're essentially shortchanging our bodies of this essential maintenance and repair time.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. You've also flagged a lot of content on circadian rhythms and how they impact our sleep.
Right.
Can you break that down a bit
Sure.
for those of us who haven't quite mastered our internal body clocks yet?
Well, our circadian rhythm is basically our internal 24-hour clock
Yeah.
that regulates our sleep-wake cycle.
Huh?
It's controlled by a tiny region in our brain called the suprachiasmatic nucleus,
Okay.
or SCN for short, which acts like a master clock.
The SCN. Got it. But how does this master clock actually work?
The SCN receives signals from light-sensitive cells in our eyes,
Okay.
letting it know when it's daytime and when it's nighttime. This information then gets relayed to other parts of the brain, triggering the release of hormones like melatonin that make us feel sleepy or alert at the appropriate times. It's a beautifully orchestrated system that keeps our bodies synchronized with the natural cycles of day and night.
So when we disrupt our circadian rhythms by staying up late or exposing ourselves to bright lights at night, we're essentially messing with our brain's natural timekeeping system.
Precisely. And this can have a cascade of negative effects on our sleep quality, our hormone levels, and even our overall health.
You know, it's funny because you mentioned jet lag earlier, and it makes me wonder if our modern lifestyles, with all the artificial light and late night screen time, are basically putting us in a perpetual state of jet lag.
That's a great analogy. Our brains are constantly trying to adjust to these conflicting signals, and it's no wonder so many of us are struggling to get a good night's sleep.
So we've talked about the circadian rhythm,
Yeah.
that master clock in our brain,
Right.
but you also highlighted some notes about different types of sleep. Can you expand on that a bit? I vaguely remember learning about REM sleep back in high school, but it's all a bit fuzzy now.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So when we sleep,
Yeah.
our brains cycle through different stages, and these stages aren't all created equal. We have NREM sleep,
Okay.
which is non-rapid eye movement sleep,
Uh-huh.
and REM sleep, which stands for rapid eye movement sleep.
Okay. NREM and REM. What's the difference?
NREM sleep is divided into 3 stages,
Okay.
and each stage gets progressively deeper. It's during deep NREM sleep,
Uh-huh.
the 3rd stage,
Okay.
that our bodies do a lot of the repair work we talked about earlier.
Mhm.
Our heart rate and breathing slow down, our muscles relax,
Okay.
and our brains release growth hormone, which is essential for cell regeneration and repair.
So deep NREM sleep is like the ultimate restorative power nap for our bodies.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's crucial for physical recovery and rejuvenation. Then we have REM sleep, which is where things get really interesting.
Here's where it gets really interesting.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite phrases.
Well, during REM sleep, our brains are incredibly active, our eyes dart back and forth beneath our eyelids, our breathing and heart rate speed up,
Wow.
and our brains are firing away, almost as if we were awake. It's also the stage where we experience those vivid, often bizarre dreams.
I've always wondered about dreams. What's their purpose? Are they just random firings of neurons, or is there something more to them?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that scientists are still trying to answer definitively.
Yeah.
But Walker suggests that REM sleep
Mm.
and the dreams that occur during this stage might play a key role in processing emotions,
Okay.
consolidating memories,
Uh-huh.
and even fostering creativity.
So our brains are busy doing important work,
Yeah.
even when we're lost on a dream world. That's
Right.
pretty amazing.
It is. And it highlights just how active and complex our brains are, even when we're seemingly unconscious.
This is also fascinating, but I'm also starting to feel a little guilty about all those late nights I've pulled.
Yeah.
You've also highlighted some sections about how sleep, or lack thereof, affects our memory.
Right.
What's the connection there?
You're right to be concerned. The link between sleep and memory is one of the most compelling arguments for prioritizing sleep. Walker describes sleep as a master librarian for our memories, helping to sort, organize, and store the information we encounter each day.
Okay, so how does that actually work? Is there a specific type of sleep that's best for memory?
Well, different stages of sleep seem to contribute to different types of memory. For example, deep NREM sleep appears to be crucial for consolidating what are known as declarative memories. These are memories for facts and events,
Uh-huh.
the kind of information you might study for a test.
So if I'm cramming for an exam,
Right.
pulling an all-nighter is actually the worst thing I can do for my memory?
Exactly. During deep NREM sleep, your brain is working to transfer those newly learned facts from short-term storage into long-term memory. Skimping on sleep disrupts that process, making it harder to remember what you studied.
That makes a lot of sense. What about other types of memory?
Well, REM sleep seems to play a crucial role in consolidating procedural memories,
Okay.
which are memories for skills and habits. So if you're learning a new sport,
Right.
a musical instrument, or even a new language, getting enough REM sleep is essential for mastering those skills.
So those late nights spent practicing guitar might be counterproductive
Yeah.
if I'm not also getting enough sleep to consolidate those skills.
Exactly. REM sleep is like a practice session for your brain, helping to refine and automate those movements, making them smoother and more efficient.
Wow, that's incredible. So it's not just about how much we sleep, but also about getting enough of each type of sleep.
Absolutely. Both NREM and REM sleep play unique and essential roles in memory consolidation and overall brain function.
Okay, so we know sleep is vital for our physical health. Our brains need it to function properly, and our memory relies on it. But you've also highlighted sections about sleep and our emotional health. How does that fit into the picture?
You're right, it's not just about our physical and cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
Sleep plays a crucial role in our emotional well-being, too.
Hmm.
Walker even refers to REM sleep as overnight therapy, highlighting its role in emotional processing and mood regulation.
Overnight therapy. I
Yeah.
love that. But what's the science behind that idea?
Well, research using brain imaging has shown that when we're sleep deprived, activity increases in the amygdala,
Okay.
the part of our brain responsible for processing fear and anxiety.
Uh-huh.
At the same time, activity decreases in the prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
which helps regulate emotions and make decisions.
So it's like our emotional control center is going offline
Right.
while our fear center is in overdrive. That sounds like a recipe for disaster.
It's not a good combination,
No.
that's for sure. It makes us more reactive to stress, more likely to overreact to minor annoyances,
Right.
and less able to cope with challenges.
Yeah.
We essentially become more emotionally volatile when we're sleep deprived.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as a good night's sleep can have such a profound impact on our mood and emotional resilience.
It really is remarkable.
Yeah.
And it underscores just how interconnected our physical, mental, and emotional well-being truly are.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground already. The
Yeah.
science behind sleep circadian rhythms, different sleep stages,
Oh.
and how sleep affects our brains, bodies, and emotions.
Yeah.
But you've also flagged some sections about sleep and creativity. Is there really a connection there? Can sleep actually make us more creative?
That's one of the most fascinating aspects of sleep research.
Yeah.
And it seems you're particularly intrigued by it.
Yeah, I am.
Walker argues that sleep, particularly REM sleep, can indeed boost our creative potential.
I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. I've always thought of creativity as something that happens when we're awake and actively engaged in a task. How could sleeping possibly make us more creative?
Well, think about what happens during REM sleep.
Okay.
Our brains are incredibly active,
Mm-hmm.
making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas,
Okay.
and our minds are free to wander and explore new possibilities. It's like a brainstorming session for our subconscious.
So it's like our brains are working on creative problems in the background, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. And when we wake up, those connections and ideas might surface, leading to those aha moments of insight and inspiration.
That actually reminds me of something I read about Dmitri Mendeleev, the
Yeah.
creator of the periodic table. He reportedly struggled for years to find a way to organize the elements, and then one night, he dreamt the solution.
That's a great example, and the book is full of similar stories about artists,
Right.
scientists,
Uh-huh.
and musicians who attribute their breakthroughs to dreams or periods of rest.
I'm starting to see the connections. Like our conscious minds might sometimes get in the way of our creative process, and sleep allows our subconscious to take over and work its magic.
Precisely. Sleep provides a space for our brains to explore uncharted territory, to break free from the constraints of logic and reason, and to make those unexpected connections that lead to creative breakthroughs.
This is all so fascinating. It really makes you appreciate the power of sleep and the importance of making it a priority. But you've also highlighted some sections about sleep disorders, which I imagine is a common concern for many people. Where should we start with that topic?
Well, insomnia is a good place to start.
Okay.
It seems to be the most common sleep disorder,
Yeah.
affecting millions of people.
Right.
And it's a topic you've highlighted extensively in your notes.
Yeah, I find it particularly interesting because it seems like there are so many misconceptions about insomnia,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to treatment.
Absolutely. One of the biggest myths Walker debunks is that sleeping pills are the solution to insomnia. He argues that while they might offer temporary relief,
Yeah,
they come with a host of risks and often don't address the underlying causes of insomnia.
that's interesting. So what does he suggest instead of sleeping pills?
Walker is a strong advocate for therapies like cognitive behavioral therapy for insomnia or CBTI.
Yep.
It's a type of therapy that focuses on changing the negative thoughts and behaviors that contribute to sleep problems.
So instead of just masking the symptoms with medication, CBTI aims to actually retrain your brain to sleep better.
Exactly. It's a more holistic and sustainable approach to treating insomnia.
Okay.
It helps people identify and modify those unhelpful thought patterns and behaviors that keep them awake at night.
That makes a lot of sense. And what about other sleep disorders? What else did you flag in your notes?
You highlighted a section about sleep apnea,
Okay.
a condition where your breathing repeatedly stops and starts during sleep. It's often caused by a blockage in the airway.
I've heard of sleep apnea. It's the one where people sometimes wear those masks while they sleep, right?
That's right. It's called a continuous positive airway pressure machine, or CPAP.
Okay.
It helps to keep the airway open and prevent those pauses in breathing.
It sounds like sleep apnea could be pretty serious if it's left untreated.
It can be. People with sleep apnea often experience excessive daytime sleepiness,
Yeah.
loud snoring,
Yeah.
and they're also at increased risk for heart disease,
Oh, wow.
stroke, and other health problems.
That's scary. It's amazing how something as seemingly simple as breathing during sleep can have such a profound impact on our health.
It really is.
Yeah.
And it highlights the importance of seeking professional help
Right.
if you suspect you might have a sleep disorder.
Okay, so we've talked about the dangers of sleep deprivation, the science behind how we sleep, and some common sleep disorders.
Yeah.
But one thing I'm still curious about is the connection between sleep and our social interactions.
Okay.
Is there really a link there?
There is,
Awesome.
and it's fascinating. You actually flagged a section about a study where researchers looked at how sleep deprivation affects our ability to interpret facial expressions.
Okay, tell me more about that study. It sounds intriguing.
In the study, participants were shown images of faces expressing different emotions,
Go.
like anger,
Uh-huh.
fear,
Yeah.
happiness, and sadness.
Okay.
They were asked to rate how approachable or threatening each face appeared.
Interesting. So they were basically testing how well people could read emotional cues from faces.
Right.
What did they find?
The researchers found that sleep deprivation significantly impaired people's ability to accurately judge those expressions.
Okay.
The sleep-deprived participants tended to perceive neutral or even friendly faces as more threatening.
Wow, that's a little unsettling. So when we're sleep deprived, we're basically walking around misinterpreting people's emotions.
It seems that way.
Yeah.
And the book explains that this can have a real impact on our social interactions,
Uh-huh.
potentially leading to misunderstandings,
Right.
conflicts,
Yeah.
and strained relationships.
That makes a lot of sense. I've definitely noticed that I'm more irritable and quicker to jump to conclusions when I haven't slept well.
It's a common experience,
Yeah.
and it highlights the importance of sleep for social intelligence and our ability to navigate those complex social dynamics.
You know what's really interesting is that the book also connects this finding to the development of social skills in children.
That's right. Walker explains that REM sleep,
Mm-hmm.
the stage where we do most of our dreaming,
Okay.
might play a crucial role in helping children develop their emotional intelligence.
So those crazy imaginative dreams might actually be helping kids learn how to interpret and respond to emotions in the real world.
It's a fascinating idea.
Yeah.
It's like their brains are running simulations of different social scenarios,
Okay.
giving them a chance to practice and refine their emotional responses in a safe offline environment.
It really makes you think about the long-term implications of disrupted sleep in children. Maybe those bedtime battles aren't worth fighting after all.
It's certainly a perspective worth considering,
Yeah.
especially when you consider the research showing that early school start times
Right?
can disrupt teenagers' REM sleep,
Uh-huh.
potentially impacting their emotional development at a crucial time.
Another point for later school start times.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in terms of the science behind sleep and
Mhm.
its impact on our lives. But let's shift gears and get a little more practical.
Okay.
What are some things we can actually do to improve our sleep?
Okay.
I'm thinking diet, exercise.
Well, one of the best places to start is with what's called sleep hygiene.
Okay.
You've highlighted a lot of the tips and strategies that Walker recommends in the book.
Sleep hygiene. It sounds a little clinical, but I'm all for good sleep habits. So what does good sleep hygiene actually involve?
It's really about creating a conducive environment for sleep
Okay.
and adopting behaviors that promote restful sleep.
Uh-huh.
One of the simplest
Right.
yet most effective things you can do
Okay.
is establish a regular sleep schedule.
So going to bed and waking up at roughly the same time each day,
Yeah.
even on weekends.
Exactly. Consistency is key. It helps regulate your body's natural sleep-wake cycle,
Okay.
making it easier to fall asleep and wake up feeling refreshed.
That makes sense. But what about those of us with unpredictable schedules or who just love to sleep in on Saturdays? Is there any wiggle room?
Of course, life happens,
Yeah.
and it's not about being rigid,
Right.
but aiming for consistency most of the time can make a big difference.
Okay. So consistency is key.
Mm-hmm.
What else? What about our sleep environment? Does that matter?
Absolutely. Think of your bedroom as a sleep sanctuary.
Okay.
It should be cool,
Uh-huh.
dark,
Uh-huh.
and quiet.
Right.
Minimize distractions,
Yeah.
especially electronic devices.
No more scrolling through social media in bed then.
Ideally not. The blue light emitted from screens can suppress melatonin production,
Uh-huh.
making it harder to fall asleep.
Melatonin. That's that sleep hormone we talked about
Yeah.
earlier, right?
Exactly. It's your body's natural sleep signal.
Right.
And when we expose ourselves to bright light at night, we interfere with its production.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So dimmer lights, no screens in bed,
Right.
cool room. What about noise? I live in a pretty noisy city.
Noise can definitely be a distraction.
Yeah.
If you're sensitive to noise,
Yeah.
earplugs or a white noise machine can be helpful.
Okay, so we've covered the bedroom basics. What about things we can do throughout the day to improve our sleep?
Okay.
I'm thinking diet, exercise.
You're on the right track.
Yeah.
Regular exercise is great for sleep,
Uh-huh.
but try to avoid intense workouts too close to bedtime.
Okay.
And when it comes to diet,
Yeah.
avoid caffeine and alcohol in the hours leading up to sleep.
So no late night coffee or nightcaps.
Caffeine is a stimulant that can keep you awake,
Uh-huh.
and while alcohol might initially make you feel drowsy,
Right.
it can actually disrupt your sleep later in the night.
Okay, good to know. So it's all about making those conscious choices throughout the day. That set us up for better sleep later on.
Exactly.
Hmm.
Sleep hygiene is a holistic approach. It's not just about what you do right before bed.
Right.
It's about the choices you make throughout the day that impact your sleep quality.
That makes a lot of sense. You know, it's funny because whenever I talk to people about sleep problems,
Yeah.
one of the first things they mention is sleeping pills.
Right.
But you mentioned earlier that Walker isn't a big fan of them. Can you elaborate on that a bit?
He acknowledges that sleeping pills can provide temporary relief,
Uh,
but he cautions against their long-term use due to potential side effects
mm, mm,
and the risk of dependency.
right.
He also points out that they often don't address the underlying causes of sleep problems.
So it's like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. You might temporarily stop the bleeding, but you're not actually addressing the real problem.
That's a great analogy. And that's why Walker advocates for therapies like CBTI,
Right.
which address the root causes of insomnia
Uh-huh.
and promote long-term sleep improvement.
CBTI. It sounds like that's a key takeaway for anyone struggling with chronic sleep problems.
Absolutely.
Okay, so we've talked about sleep hygiene and some strategies for improving our sleep habits.
Yeah.
But one thing you flagged in your notes that I'm particularly interested in is the connection between sleep and memory.
Okay.
Can you dive into that a bit deeper?
Absolutely. It seems like this is an area you're particularly keen to explore,
I am, yeah.
and for good reason.
Yeah.
The link between sleep and memory is one of the most compelling arguments for prioritizing sleep.
So how does sleep actually impact our memory? Is it just about getting enough sleep, or are there specific types of sleep that are better for memory?
Well, research suggests that different stages of sleep contribute to different types of memory.
Okay.
For example, deep NREM sleep,
Mm-hmm.
the stage where our bodies are most relaxed and our brains are generating slow, rhythmic waves,
Mm-hmm.
seems to be crucial for consolidating declarative memories.
Declarative memories. Those are the memories for facts and events, right? The kind of information we might study for a test or try to remember for a presentation.
Exactly. And during deep NREM sleep,
Mm-hmm.
your brain is essentially working offline,
Okay.
transferring those newly acquired facts and experiences from short-term storage into long-term memory.
Okay.
It's like hitting the save button on your brain's hard drive.
So if we're not getting enough deep sleep, those memories are more likely to get lost or corrupted.
That's a good way to think about it.
Yeah.
Skimping on deep sleep disrupts that consolidation process,
Alright.
making it harder to recall information later on.
That makes a lot of sense. It explains why I always feel so foggy-headed and struggle to remember things when I'm sleep deprived.
Uh-huh.
What about other types of memory?
Well, REM sleep,
Okay.
the stage where we do most of our dreaming,
Right.
seems to be particularly important for procedural memories.
Procedural memories, those are the memories for skills and habits, right?
Exactly.
Like riding a bike,
Yeah.
playing an instrument, or
Right.
typing on a keyboard.
Exactly. And during REM sleep,
Mm-hmm.
your brain is busy refining and automating those skills,
Okay.
making them smoother and more efficient.
It's like our brains are practicing while we sleep, even without us consciously being aware of it.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that's why getting enough REM sleep is so crucial for learning and mastering new skills.
Wow, that's incredible. It's amazing how our brains can be so active and productive even when we're seemingly unconscious.
It is remarkable.
Yeah.
And it highlights just how important sleep is for learning, memory consolidation, and overall brain health.
Okay, so we know that sleep is vital for our physical health. Our brains rely on it to function properly, and our memory is deeply intertwined with sleep. But you've also highlighted some sections about sleep and our emotional health.
Right.
How does that fit into the picture?
You're right. It's not just about our physical and cognitive abilities.
Yeah.
Sleep plays a crucial role in our emotional well-being, too. Walker refers to REM sleep as overnight therapy, highlighting its role in emotional processing and mood regulation.
Overnight therapy. I love that. But what's the science behind that idea? What's actually happening in our brains during REM sleep that helps us process emotions?
Well, research using brain imaging techniques has shown that when we're sleep deprived,
Okay.
activity increases in the amygdala,
Mm-hmm.
the part of our brain responsible for processing fear and anxiety.
Right.
At the same time, activity decreases in the prefrontal cortex,
Okay.
which helps regulate emotions and make decisions.
So it's like our emotional control center is going offline while our fear center is in overdrive.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
It's not a good combination, that's for sure.
Yeah.
It makes us more reactive to stress,
Right.
more likely to overreact to minor annoyances,
Right.
and less able to cope with challenges.
Okay.
We essentially become more emotionally volatile when we're sleep deprived.
It's amazing to think that something as simple as a good night's sleep can have such a profound impact on our mood and emotional resilience.
It really is remarkable. And it underscores just how interconnected our physical, mental, and emotional well-being truly are.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground, the
Mhm.
science behind sleep,
Yeah.
circadian rhythms, different sleep stages, sleep
Yeah.
disorders,
Uh-huh.
and how sleep affects our brains, bodies, emotions, and even our social interactions.
Yeah.
But there's one more area I want to delve into that you flagged in your notes.
Okay.
The connection between sleep and creativity.
Right.
Is there really a link there? Can sleep actually make us more creative?
That's one of the most fascinating aspects of sleep research.
Yeah.
And it seems you're particularly intrigued by it.
Yeah, I am.
Walker argues that sleep, particularly REM sleep, can indeed boost our creative potential.
I have to admit, I'm a little skeptical. I've always thought of creativity as something that happens when we're awake and actively engaged in a task.
Right.
How could sleeping possibly make us more creative?
Well, think about what happens during REM sleep.
Okay.
Our brains are incredibly active,
Mm.
making connections between seemingly unrelated ideas,
Right.
and our minds are free to wander and explore new possibilities.
Okay.
It's like a brainstorming session for our subconscious.
So it's like our brains are working on creative problems in the background, even when we're not consciously aware of it.
Exactly. And when we wake up,
Yeah.
those connections and ideas might surface, leading to those aha moments of insight and inspiration.
You know, that reminds me of something I read about Dmitri Mendeleev,
Yeah,
the creator of the periodic table.
right.
He reportedly struggled for years to find a way to organize the elements, and then one night, he dreamt the solution.
That's a great example. The book is full of similar stories about artists, scientists, and musicians who attribute their breakthroughs to dreams or periods of rest.
I'm starting to see the connection. It's like
Mhm.
our conscious minds might sometimes get in the way of our creative process,
Right,
and sleep allows our subconscious to take over and work its magic.
precisely. Sleep provides a space for our brains to explore uncharted territory,
Mhm.
to break free from the constraints of logic and reason,
Right.
and to make those unexpected connections that lead to creative breakthroughs.
This is all so fascinating. It really makes you appreciate the power of sleep
Uh-huh.
and the importance of making it a priority. But what about those times when we're struggling to get the sleep we need?
Right.
The book also delves into sleep disorders,
Yeah.
which I imagine is a concern for many people.
Yeah.
What are some of the most common sleep disorders,
Yeah.
and how can they be addressed?
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Sleep disorders are incredibly common, and they can have a huge impact on our lives.
Right.
Insomnia, as we discussed, is one of the most prevalent,
Yeah.
but there are many others that can disrupt our sleep and impact our health.
Okay.
For example, you highlighted a section about restless leg syndrome,
Right.
which causes an irresistible urge to move the legs,
Okay.
often accompanied by uncomfortable sensations.
Restless leg syndrome. I've heard of that, but
Yeah.
I don't know much about it. It sounds pretty unpleasant. What causes it?
The exact causes aren't fully understood,
Okay.
but it seems to be related to an imbalance of dopamine in the brain,
Mm.
the neurotransmitter involved in movement and reward.
Interesting. So it's not just a physical sensation. There's a
Right.
neurological component as well.
Exactly. And because it often disrupts sleep,
Right.
it can lead to daytime fatigue and other problems.
Okay.
Then there's narcolepsy,
Oh.
which you also flagged in your notes.
Narcolepsy, that's the one where people experience excessive daytime sleepiness
Right.
and sometimes even fall asleep suddenly.
Exactly.
Right.
It's a neurological disorder that affects the brain's ability to regulate sleep-wake cycles.
Okay.
People with narcolepsy often experience sudden,
Yeah.
uncontrollable sleep attacks that can occur at any time,
Wow.
even during activities like driving or having a conversation.
Wow, that sounds really challenging to live with.
Yeah.
What causes narcolepsy?
It's thought to be caused by a deficiency of a brain chemical called hypocretin,
Okay.
which plays a key role in regulating sleep-wake cycles.
It's amazing how these tiny chemical messengers in our brains can have such a profound impact on our lives.
It really is. And it highlights the complexity of sleep
Yeah.
and the delicate balance of factors that contribute to a good night's rest.
Okay, so we've talked about some specific sleep disorders,
Yeah.
but I'm also curious about how sleep changes as we age. You've highlighted some sections about sleep in infants,
Yeah.
children, teenagers, and older adults.
Right.
It seems like sleep is a lifelong journey with its own unique challenges at each stage.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
Sleep needs and patterns evolve throughout our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and understanding those changes can help us address sleep challenges more effectively.
Okay.
For example, infants spend a significant amount of their time in REM sleep,
Oh, wow.
which is thought to play a crucial role in brain development.
So all that dreaming is actually helping to wire their little brains.
Exactly. And as children grow,
Okay.
their sleep patterns gradually shift,
Uh,
with a decrease in REM sleep and an increase in NREM sleep.
What about teenagers? They seem to have a reputation for being sleep deprived.
There's a biological reason for that.
Okay.
During puberty,
Uh-huh.
teenagers experience a shift in their circadian rhythm,
Okay.
making them naturally inclined to stay up later and sleep in longer.
That makes a lot of sense. It's like their internal clocks are set to a different time zone.
Exactly. And unfortunately, this often clashes with early school start times,
Yeah.
creating a chronic sleep debt that can have negative consequences for their academic performance, mood, and overall health.
Yet another reason to advocate for later school start times. So we've got babies dreaming their little brains into shape, teenagers battling biology and early school bells.
Right.
And what about us adults? How does sleep change as we get older?
Well, as we age,
Yeah.
we tend to experience a decrease in deep sleep and an increase in sleep fragmentation.
Okay.
We might wake up more frequently during the night and find it harder to fall back asleep.
I've definitely noticed that happening as I get older. It's frustrating
Yeah.
because you're in bed for a seemingly long time,
Right.
but you don't always feel truly rested when you wake up.
Exactly. And these changes can be due to a variety of factors,
Right?
including age-related changes in hormone production,
Mm-hmm.
underlying health conditions,
Right.
and medications.
So it's not just a matter of willpower or establishing good sleep habits.
No.
There are biological factors at play as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important for older adults to prioritize sleep
Right.
and seek professional help if they're experiencing persistent sleep problems.
Okay. So we've covered how sleep changes throughout our lifespan.
Yeah.
But I want to circle back to something we touched on earlier. You mentioned that Walker sees sleep deprivation as a public health crisis.
Right.
Why is that?
He argues that we live in a sleep-deprived society
Uh-huh.
and that this has far-reaching consequences for our health,
Okay.
safety, productivity, and even our economy.
That's a pretty bold statement.
Mhm.
But what are some of the specific societal impacts he highlights?
Well, he points to the alarming statistics on drowsy driving accidents,
yeah.
which we discussed earlier.
Yeah.
He also cites studies showing that sleep deprivation contributes to decreased productivity and increased absenteeism in the workplace,
Uh-huh.
leading to billions of dollars in lost revenue each year.
That's a significant economic impact.
Yeah.
And beyond the economic factors,
Right.
there's also the issue of safety and human error.
Exactly. Think about sleep-deprived doctors making medical errors
Right.
or fatigue drivers causing accidents.
Yeah.
These are real-world consequences of our collective sleep deprivation.
It's a sobering reminder that sleep is not just a personal issue.
Right.
It's a societal issue as well.
Absolutely. And Walker argues that we need to start taking sleep seriously as a society.
Okay.
Not just for our individual well-being,
Yay.
but for the health and safety of our communities as well.
So how do we do that? What are some solutions he proposes?
He suggests some pretty radical ideas, actually.
Okay.
For example, he advocates for later school start times for teenagers,
Right.
recognizing that their biological clocks are naturally shifted later.
Uh-huh.
He also proposes napping policies in the workplace,
Oh, wow.
arguing that even a short nap can significantly boost alertness and productivity.
Those are definitely outside-the-box ideas,
Yeah.
but they make a lot of sense when you consider the science.
Exactly. He's challenging us to rethink our priorities
Okay.
and to create a culture that values and supports healthy sleep habits.
This deep dive has really been an eye-opener.
Yeah.
It's clear that sleep is far more than just a passive state of rest.
Right.
It's an active and essential process that underpins our physical and mental health,
Right.
our ability to learn and create, and even our survival.
I couldn't agree more. It's time to start treating sleep as the precious resource it is.
Well said. This deep dive has given us a lot to think about, and I hope it's inspired you to prioritize your own sleep and to spread the word about the importance of sleep.
Absolutely.
Well, it's been a pleasure exploring this topic with you.
It's been fun.
Sleep well, everyone.